Welcome back to London Live News. My next guest combines psychiatry and neuroscience with art and music. Dr. Ramya Mohan is touring the UK, sharing her music, art and scientific knowledge as well, and she can share it some more with us this evening. Tell me when it was you first realised that your medical work could combine with the creative world to have something that actually had an impact on people.
That happened both on a professional and personal level. As I was going through my medical training and particularly psychiatric training, I found that actually it was so much better that we could use arts to actually communicate with the children, because I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist. There were instances where we could actually use art as a form of communication, other instances where we were able to help young people who were struggling with severe emotional regulation difficulties. They were able to use art and music as ways to pull themselves back. So on a professional level, it got me thinking that there is so much creativity within medicine itself, and within psychiatry particularly because it's such a humane specialty within medicine as well. At the same time, on a personal level, I've got two young girls, and after a hard day's work in hospital, it was just wonderful to just come back home, sit cross-legged on the floor, do a piece of artwork, or sing some songs and compose some music, and I could feel all the stress slipping away. So it just got me thinking, right, we know that qualitatively on an individual level it helps us, but how do we look at applying this to focused communities and populations? And that got me thinking that we actually need to explore what is behind, what is the science behind art and music. We need to try and understand that as a first step, and then how can we bridge the gap between neuroscience, mental health and the creative arts to support brains better.
How has the response been from the scientific community? Because I imagine something like this could be seen, people would be sceptical about whether actually there's a concrete basis for it. How have you found the response?
It's been overwhelmingly good, I must say, and it's been brilliant actually, both from the scientific community and the artistic community. With the scientific community, yes, my first step was, right, let's look at what we know scientifically, and then we use that as a basis to structure the whole technique. So in that sense, the doctors I've worked with, the medical fraternity, have been curious, they've been wondering, and they've actually been extremely supportive. And the same goes to the artistic community as well.
One of the jobs of a psychiatrist is sometimes to prescribe medicines. Do you feel that there's a chance that in some ways you could be prescribing an art class or an art session that could do the same job as a medicine, or do you think it's still something that has to go side by side?
It's complementary. It has to be complementary because everyone's different and their needs are different. I'm a psychopharmacologist, so my specialization is medication management, and I do a lot of that as well, but not exclusively so. So what I have developed is something that is complementary in the sense, even if you're on medication or you're having going through a formalized therapeutic process, the creative arts should not be in any way exclusive. On the other hand, they're actually going to gel in very well. They complement and they support from a very different angle.
What would be your first, you're encountering a child or an adolescent who has issues that you want to try and address, what would be your first art move, as it were? What would you like to try and get them doing if you were trying to draw them out?
Oh gosh, it's a very broad question. I suppose let's look at specific examples. So if I had a child, say he was selectively mute or who wasn't communicating, it is quite possible that the child might actually use art as a form of expression. So it could be through an artwork, it could be through playing music, but then that would need to lead on to something a bit more definitive. So it would be a wonderful icebreaker, a wonderful way of setting off a conversation and engagement with.
It's not only that your patients, though, you yourself create. Tell us about your own works and the work that you've been bringing to the UK.
I'm very excited about this one because yes, so I'll be touring the UK. It's a 5-city tour, and it's unique in format and presentation because the idea was that around the work that I've been doing, blending neuroscience and the creative arts, it's also about showcasing what each one of them does individually. So it's going to be a mix of musical shows ranging from classical to fusion to popular music across the UK. There's also going to be a solo art exhibition at the Nehru Centre. It's mental health Awareness Week next week. So it's about looking at life through the lens of a psychiatrist and as an artist. And there is a highlight event, in fact, happening at the Nehru Center. And it's about, we're going to be launching creative arts for processing emotions for children and young people. It's called Cape Youth. And that's the culmination of the research and everything that's gone into bringing together neuroscience and the creative arts.
I know this is all on your website. Tell us your website address.
It's ramyamohan.com, www.ramyamohan.com.
Ramyamohan.com. Thank you so much for coming and telling us your fascinating story, and look forward to hearing more about your work too.